Acquiring skills for accurately attributing numismatic varieties. This video is the 8th in a series of videos which are intended to assist the coin variety collector to acquire the skills necessary to accurately attribute numismatic varieties and mint errors. An introduction to mint errors. All errors on coins are not mint errors. Errors are not results of any steps in the minting process. Errors are most often merely damaged coins. Errors are not traditionally collectible nor of any significant value. On the other hand, mint errors are results of steps in the minting process. Mint errors are most often collectible and can be of significant value. The step within the minting process and the type of error are major factors in determining or defining a mint error. The step is prior to entering the striking chamber. Two types of errors are planchet errors and die errors. While in and upon ejection from the striking chamber come striking errors. Here are the errors prior to entering the striking chamber. Under planchet errors are things like annealing errors, plating or clad layer errors, improper alloy, wrong metal, or wrong stock errors, delamination errors, clipped planchets, split planchet errors. Under planchet errors, this is an example of improperly annealed coin. This happens during the heat treatment of the coins or the planchets. Another planchet error is plating blisters. This occurs on copper plated zinc coins. Another planchet error would be split plating. This also happens on copper-plated zinc coins. Missing clad layers. On the left is an example of lost cladding prior to the blanking process. Blanking process is where they cut the blanks from the sheet stock of metal. It will weigh a normal weight. On the right is lost cladding after the blanking process, but prior to the strike. They will weigh less than normal. This is an example of an improper alloy mix, which is also a planchet error. It is something wrong with the mix of the alloys used in the copper sense. Delamination errors. These are some examples of laminations. This is a clipped planchet error. Some split planchets. On the left is an example of a Lincoln cent split planchet before it was struck. And on the right is an example of after it was struck. Another example of an errors happening prior to entering the striking chamber are die errors. These are going to be things that have occurred to the die, such as a die clash, die cracks, die breaks, cuds, split dies, or shattered dies. Here's an example of a die clash. Portions of the reverse of the coin appear on the obverse of the coin. And likewise, remnants of the obverse appear on the reverse of the coin. Here's an overlay of the reverse over the obverse of the coin. It's showing the features of the reverse that are showing up on the obverse of the coin. And here's that area of interest from the previous slide of the obverse showing up on the reverse of the coin. Here's another example of a die clash error on an 1866 3-cent nickel. This is a common die clash error known as a spitting eagle on Washington quarters. The spitting eagle shows as this line here, which is merely a die clash of the obverse of the quarter. Some other areas to look for die clash are in these areas. This particular coin actually has a rim cud. Here's an overlay of a Washington quarter showing the reverse over the obverse, and here is the obverse imposed over the reverse of the coin, showing that line of Washington's throat, and in these areas the clashing as well. This is an example of die crack error. Here's examples of some cud errors. This is damage to the die, causing the appearance and displacement of the metal when the planchets are struck. Split die errors. This coin actually has a die crack which goes from one rim to the other. It is shown by these arrows here and by these circled areas here. It goes from one rim and is uninterrupted all the way to the other rim. It's called a split die error. Shattered dies. This is an extreme cracks of a die, severely damaged at the end of its life. Two examples of Roosevelt dimes with shattered die errors. Here's another shattered die error on a Finland coin, 1947 1 marca. Here we'll see the die cracks running through the coin in all of these areas. Errors happening while in or during ejection from the striking chamber. This would be called striking errors. Such things are machine, mechanical, or strike doubling, struck through grease, debris, or through dropped letters, broad strikes, misaligned die strike, off-center strikes, double or multiple strike, weak strikes, die caps, indents, brockages, missing edge letters, double denominations, unstruck blanks, and planchets. Here's a striking error example of machine or mechanical or strike doubling. The one in the center actually has machine doubling as well as a class 6 hub doubling. The class 6 doubling is the thickness of the 9. The machine doubling is on the numerals of the date as well as the mint mark. Here are examples of struck through. Here's a struck through grease where numerals of the date are missing. Struck through debris. This is struck through a piece of wire. This is an extreme with a struck through staple with the retained staple. Here's an example of a struck through dropped letter, where dirt and debris had clogged the die in this area, and that dirt and debris in the shape of the O fell off, and the coins were struck over that dropped letter. Here's more examples of while in and during ejection from the striking chamber. Here are examples of die cap errors. On the left is die cap obverse, which is the hammer die. On the right is the reverse, which is the anvil die. Here are examples of double denomination errors. On the left is the 1995 Roosevelt dime that was struck with the 1995 Lincoln cent dies. On the right is a 2000 Philadelphia Lincoln cent struck with the 2000 Denver Jefferson nickels. Here's an example of an unstruck blank and an unstruck planchet. The difference being is that the planchet has been through the upsetting mill and has a rim formed on it. These either bypassed the minting press or passed through without being pressed. In this presentation, we have described what is considered an error and what is considered a mint error. We've described the categories of mint errors and the steps in the minting process that they occur. We presented examples of different types of mint errors. Here's a list of some suggested online references. Here are some additional suggested online references. And here are some suggested printed publications. Continued research and study is highly recommended in order to obtain additional detailed information and understanding.